Hey guys, welcome to Hunkered Down with Seth, your self-isolated depression era podcast stream. Is it a podcast or a stream? Don't know. We haven't decided yet. We got plenty of time. We're going to be indoors for at least the next week, so I decided to bring on some friends. Today, my guest is somebody I've known since 2007, 2008-ish. Very good friend of mine, one of those guys, as soon as we met, we hit it off immediately, doing the dumbest puns, the stupidest jokes, and the craziest references you can imagine. He's a very accomplished comic. Some of his credits are he's got runner-up to the runner-up of the Seattle International Comedy Competition. Um, he's been a touring headliner for years, and overall, been in movies. He's got his own IMDb page. Check that out. The one, the only Dax Jordan. Dax, how are you?
Hey, I wish I was the only Dax Jordan, but I'm friends with several more on Facebook. But at least I'm the only one on IMDb.
So far. Um, um,
So, now that people have the idea.
exactly. Why don't you make a movie? Just gather all the Daxes and, I mean, how many are there?
Dax Jordan, the film. There's only one other one, I think, actual Dax Jordan, but I've tracked down other Daxes. I'm friends with several Daxes on Facebook, but when that other Dax Jordan likes my post, it looks like I liked my own post. So I'm trying to socially distance myself from him.
How about the other way around? Any Jordan Daxes?
Ooh. That I don't know. I haven't looked it up. Let me get my research unit on that immediately as soon as they get out of quarantine.
All right. So let's start at the beginning. City, state, born, and elementary school.
Wow. Are you just building a database to sell information about me? And also, I'm fine with that. I was born in Tarzana, California, and grew up in the Valley, which is Sherman Oaks, Van Nuys, that area. 818 for life. Brody Stevens, rest in peace. Um, and we moved up to Oregon in 1990
The
in the
Windy
winter.
City.
It was where I moved at the time. Quite windy and cold in the middle of an ice storm, and our moving truck was stuck at the bottom of the hill, and took us a week to get our stuff, and it was a brutal introduction to just outside Portland. And I stayed there, went to high school there, and then college at the University of Oregon, Eugene, the Berkeley of the Northwest. I graduated from there, moved back home to help my parents run their Radio Shack, which they had recently purchased. I figured my psychology degree would be of good use. And then I started comedy while working with my parents. And then we'll get to the rest of that if you have a question about it. Next question, please.
I really didn't prepare that far. That's it. Everybody.
Okay, well, thank you. It's been a lovely time joining you, and I'll eat my sandwich now.
Well, before you get to that, first open
I
mic.
haven't even asked me what kind of sandwich it is.
Oh, it's probably some vegetarian stuff. So
I mean, it's egg and cheese on croissant, so it's definitely not vegan.
yeah, like I said, vegetarian.
Yeah, no meats.
Jeez, come on.
It's got those boba bubbles in it, though. This is a weird Asian place on my corner.
Well, you know I'm a fan of boba, so I got a tattoo. Let me show the viewers my boba tattoo. There we go.
Oh, yeah, you've got your boba tea fat.
Yeah, his middle name is Terrence. So,
You know, that thing that sticks up out of his helmet could be a straw.
actually, in the Legends version, in Star Wars, there's a Legends version and canon version. Canon version is basically what Disney owns. The Legends version is all the stuff written before the Disney purchase. And
Yeah.
and in the Tales of the Bounty Hunters series, Boba Fett was served a drink, and people watched him to see if he would take off his helmet, but instead he pulled out a long straw and stuck it under his helmet.
Where I wonder if he's got a particular, like, straw holding unit on his costume. To see like he's got a very like convoluted electronic like sanitizing unit somewhere where that only holds his metal straw.
No, it's a one of those twirly straws, plastic ones.
Oh, nice! In the shape of an Ewok.
Um, no, in the shape of a Womp Rat. Come on.
Womp rat, crazy straw. I love it.
Exactly. Also, I want to show the viewers at home I have my Star Wars M&M Boba Fett guy. You'll see it on the stream.
Nice.
All right, so your first open mic. First of all, what was your motivation to get to this open mic?
Wow. Well, I grew up around a lot of comedy in as much as my dad worked on the Dr. Demento radio show. So absurdity was just kind of always around. He was bringing home those final pressings of the show because this was the 80s.
Like Spike Jones and Weird Al?
Exactly. Weird Al actually worked in the mailroom at Westwood One, the production facility where my dad was working on Dr. Demento. So he was actually a friend of the family growing up. And so got to go to exclusive Weird Al hangouts when I was 10, like kid's dream. So I always loved his music, and I didn't actually care about actual music. So I didn't even know the songs he was parodying, but I liked the fact that he was making fun of whatever was popular, which was not the thing I was into anyway. So
Yeah.
I grew up with this skewed sense of like only liking the thing that was making fun of the thing, but not even knowing what the thing was.
Yeah. When you found out that he was actually making fun of other people's music, was it like finding out that the Easter Bunny doesn't exist, or how, in my case, you were adopted?
Wait, what? Are you making fun of? Oh boy, I'm so lost. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was finding out. It's like finding out the Easter Bunny is actually making fun of Christianity. And I'm like, oh, that's a whole extra level of great. Now I really like the Easter Bunny. So yeah, I was exposed more to that as a kid and crazy shit. And then on Star Search, which we always watched, I started seeing that people like Sinbad. And I'm like, oh, what is this? He's just talking and saying stuff. And then I started watching Paula Poundstone on the earliest versions of what is now Comedy Central, when they would play her Cats, Cops, and Things special nonstop. And I started to really get into stand-up. Sorry, I was getting a call. Who would have thought I would get a call while I'm on Facebook Messenger? Didn't even know that was possible.
Oh, who is it? I mean, if you need to answer it.
Unidentified number.
Uh-oh. Student loans?
I just paid those off. I'm actually debt-free for the first time since I graduated in 97.
Yeah, but I know you personally. You're still debt inside.
I owe a debt of gratitude to you for noticing that. Yeah, I started enjoying stand-up, and then, but I was very, very shy. Only child, huge stage fright, very shy.
Weird Al fan.
So it wasn't until, I didn't even see stand-up live until I was a senior in college. In Eugene was the first time I went to stand-up. But even watching people do improv, like every year during orientation week in college, they'd have an improv and sketch group that would come down from Portland and perform. And they would like bring people up to be on stage with them, and I was like vibrating out of my seat almost. I'm like, I think I could do that. I'm quick, right? I could be a part of that. I like voices, characters, and I hope they call me up. I kind of hope they don't because I'm shy. So I wrestled with that for a while, and then I went to stand-up, and then after I graduated, I started at least checking out the stand-up open mics just because people told me, hey, you're funny. And I'm like, well, I could never do stand-up, but I want to see how people do start just in case. And then miraculously, you go to an open mic and you find out that most people are absolutely god-awful at stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And the thing I think everybody starts with is, well, I don't know that I would be any good, but I would be better than those 5 crazy people who just blabbered on and said absolutely nothing of value.
I know the most underwhelming thing you'll ever see in your life is your first ever stand-up open mic. But yeah,
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 absolutely.
it's an experience. I remember my first stand-up open mic. It was just I was like, "Oh, there's a reason why people are on TV. They're good."
Yeah, you can't even imagine how bad stand-up comedy can be until you see it
But on the
for
flip
yourself.
side, I was that bad at my first time as well. So, and now I'm not.
Yeah,
That's my,
yeah, exactly. Now you're a fucking genius. Look at it. Look what happened.
oh,
There it is.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I don't know that like, I think I watched enough and wrote a ton before I actually went up my first time that while I had no concept of editing yet, I went up with some solid premises and some solid punchlines. It was just a paragraph worth of talking when two lines would have done.
yeah. Do you remember your
Um,
first joke?
the first one I remember telling that I thought this was good was about smart bombs because we were still talking about Saddam Hussein and all that in Afghanistan and or not Afghanistan. Yeah,
Iraq.
this is early 2000. Yeah, so Iraq. It was about smart bombs, and I thought, well, if they're so smart, why do they explode? One day they're going to be smart enough to screech all the way to their intended target and realize, hey, wait a minute, what's in this for me? And just softly land and walk away.
That's great.
Which that's the best response it's ever gotten because I stopped ever doing that joke because it didn't work because I didn't know how to edit yet. So now that I think about it, let's put that back in the act, huh?
Yeah, you got to. That's a fun exercise. That uh, let's see, Travis Simmons. You remember him? Shout out, Big Funny. You
Big
rem-
funny.
you remember Travis
Rest in
Simmons?
peace.
He's well, rest in power, but rest in quarantine. Just get some rest, Travis.
Just get some rest.
um, he one of his best advice, like he would talk to people who are 6 8 months in who've written all their stuff. Travis said, go back, grab your first ever set, and do it again, but do it with the confidence that you had after going up after 8 months.
Yeah, it's like this time, know how to say it. Yeah,
Although
that's a good point. What was your first
everybody,
joke?
my first joke,
Mm-hmm.
mine was I saw a Nazi propaganda film called Blondes Have More Fun. I got the
There you go.
soundtrack called We're Gonna Party Like It's 1939. So even at the beginning,
There you go.
I mean, Nazis are
Yeah.
my bread and butter. So,
You know, that's you got to traffic in that as much as you can.
absolutely. It's,
Fantastic. So yeah, let's see. So that open mic was at a bar that is gone now in Portland that became a Voodoo Donuts, uh, and
so an upgrade.
yeah, a lot of great comics were there. Yeah, it was a good start. It was a good little space that nobody was accidentally like surprised that comedy was there, and it was one of only like 2 open mics in all of Portland at the time.
Yeah, do you remember some of the. Get ready to name drop. Do you remember some of the comics who were at the first open mic?
Yeah, that was a crew like, Augie Smith would be at that one, and Ron Osborne, and Floyd J. Phillips, and Dwight Slade, and Art Krug, and Susan Rice. Like, all that crew would be a part of that one. Absolutely.
Oh, cool. There was only one guy.
The one I remember the most, like Gary Lucy, actually, it was, I saw him there before he moved down to LA and started writing for Win Ben Stein's Money.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first open mic. The only notable one, there were two notable ones. One guy named Tony Miller, who was the host, who he unfortunately passed away, but he was one of those guys who would host everything in Milwaukee. And also a guy named Johnny Beaner, who was the second to last comic on Letterman before Norm Macdonald was the final comic.
Yeah, I just met Johnny Beaner not too long ago.
Yeah, really funny, really great guy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, all right. Let's get him on the podcast.
If I could afford him. So.
Yeah, but I mean, he probably wants double what you're paying me.
Yeah, and I only paid for your egg sandwich.
Oh, yeah, Venmo the guy. Yeah, let's get him on.
Yep.
Where did he start? I got questions.
Oh, I could tell you. He started at the Safe House. He started at. Really, that was the only place in Milwaukee, the Safe House, to do comedy. It was this weird spy, like Cold War 1950s, early 60s spy themed place that had these.
What? Sounds amazing.
It is amazing, and they have like these weird turns, and they have this fake door where the password is "I'm looking for a safe house," and they'll let you in. But if you didn't know the password, they make you do some jumping jacks or something like that to get in. It was really cool. I think it's still there, but.
Wow.
Or
That's
you
fantastic.
or you could just go through the back at the newsroom pub. So that's what I did.
Oh. The password is knowing a guy.
The password is knowing the layout of the place.
A true spy would have the blueprints for the whole building and have it scoped out ahead of time.
Yeah, but
All right.
yeah.
Next question.
Next question. All right. So you're doing open mics. What was your first road gig? First gig for money?
I went out to Kennewick, Washington.
The Windy City.
Yeah. Kennewick. You know, it's funny. As I'm thinking back, like, there's a couple of gigs that both feel like they were my first gig, though. Oh, man. I honestly can't remember if there's two, like, colliding in my head. I think it was either Kennewick or Bend.
Just go for the highest paid gig.
I wish I could remember. I mean, they both would have paid the same $100 to middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they were just both triple gigs. And the Bend gig, if that was it, was with Troy Thirdgill, and the Kennewick gig was with Kermit Apio. And then there was also a third one in my mind that is very close to that clump with Jan, what's her face?
Barrett? Jan Barrett?
What's that?
Jan Barrett?
Yes, Jan Barrett. Yes, Jan Barrett. Also in Kennewick, which I did because Brad Brake, who was assigned to the gig, couldn't get over the border from Canada.
Brad.
And so I got the gig last minute. So maybe that was my first gig. Man, I cannot remember which of those three was the first one. But that one sticks out in my head because it was because some idiot named Brad, who I didn't know at the time, couldn't get into America due to some paperwork error on his part.
Now, me and Brad have this running joke. Whenever we're together, no matter what, no matter how long we haven't seen each other, I just walk up to him and say, "Hey, is it gay if I put a turnip up my butt and you eat it?" And I'm like, "No, it's just vitamins." And then he'll describe a situation, and we'll do that for like 45 minutes.
That's a good game. I like that.
Definitely. Like, I haven't.
Let's get him on the podcast up next.
I don't know. Try getting a hold of him. That's the hard part.
Good point.
I mean, I'm one of the few people who really like Brad because he's one of those
I have a soft spot for him.
Yeah.
He's a lot to handle. He definitely can rub people the wrong way and has some serious issues.
Yeah.
A lot of good energy.
So, viewers at home, Brad, his most famous gig that he's ever done was when he was doing an Italian restaurant in Paulsbo, Washington. He was dressed only in a thong, ran outside because the restaurant had big windows, and started directing traffic in a thong.
And somehow it was about pro wrestling, I'm sure.
Yes. But on the flip side of that, I've also seen him absolutely crush just huge audiences. So
if the audience like is buying into his product, like They'll buy in all the way and just ride the wave to a crescendo of insanity. It's
Yep.
very, very Tom Green meets Hulk Hogan energy.
Sprinkle a little Canada in there, and that's exactly what he is. There was this guy. There's this guy who knew Brad in the mid '90s when he was starting stand up, and he told me he would go on stage with a monkey puppet, and then take it off and just throw it in the middle of the audience, and then just start doing comedy.
Fantastic. Yeah, he's all about doing it different. More power to him.
Yeah. All right. Back on the
I
subject.
don't recommend googling his headshot though. Just Wikipedia him.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Just check out his Bumble profile.
Yeah. Hopefully he's not smiling.
Yeah. All right. How about your first headlining gig? Let's get back to this. I'm feeling like Johnny Carson, but bad.
No recollection. I don't remember which gig I did that promoted me to headliner. To be honest.
Perfect.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't stick out in my head more.
Yeah.
Other than it's just like if I felt comfortable enough doing it, and it was like I had enough time. The time I did it, I felt like that I was just doing my feature act, but for longer. But I do remember when I first started headlining on road gigs, being almost angry at how much easier it was than being a warm-up act. Having a crowd already warmed up, in their spots, ready, and just fucking in the zone. And then you just walk up and start playing with this nice hot ball. I was like, fuck, why? Oh my god, I don't know why I was mad about it. It's not the fault of any headliner.
No.
But I think I just built it up to think it was going to be exactly as hard as middling, but for twice as long. But it was so much easier. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling in the world. Not having someone go up after you is the best feeling. Knowing that you can do whatever you want, set whatever kind of pace or establish whatever thing you want, and just know that when you say goodnight, that means you have completed a show for them, and everyone goes off their separate ways, having experienced that thing that you were guiding together. Like, that's why as smart as it would be, I can't quit stand-up. Because I can't figure out anything that matches the feeling of headlining a stand-up show.
Yeah, it's better than Seth.
That's right.
Yeah.
You'll never headline. So how would you know? Now, you've headlined some good gigs. What are some good gigs you've headlined? What are your favorite ones to be the closer at?
My first headlining gig, to this day, still my favorite. Have you ever been to Pegasus Pizza up in Redmond, Washington?
Redmond, Washington, Pegasus Pizza. No. That sounds delightful.
For the longest time, it was the longest continuous open mic in all of the Pacific Northwest. It started in the mid-'80s, and it went to about 2012, 2013. What they did was they had an open mic and then a headliner, and this is everybody's first headlining gig. And basically, it was one of those things when they got through the open mic, no matter what, they said, okay, headliner, you just take us to 10 o'clock. So you could have done 40 minutes, you could have done 15 minutes, depending on the open mic people. But the headliner always got a third of the bar.
Whoa, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a small bar, but it was still really fun. So I did...
So what kind of paycheck were people walking out with?
I got $80 for that, for 37 minutes. But
nice.
I've heard stories about, there's this guy, John Gardner, good buddy. I got to reconnect with him as well. He did this one night where he was the headliner. He just did 20 minutes because there are a lot of people for the open mic. but one of the open micers, it was his first time, so he brought like 12 of his buddies, and they were drinking all night. So in 20 minutes, he got like $300.
Oh my God, amazing.
In fact, there's a fun story about that room. Craig Robinson, he was headlining one night, and this was in the mid 90s, and he got so drunk and he threw up on stage. So
Wow.
I was at the Improv a year ago and I saw Craig Robinson. So I walked up to him and said, "Hey, could you verify a story for me?" He said, "Yeah, sure."
Oh my God.
I said, "Is it true that at Pegasus Pizza in Redmond, you threw up on stage?" He said, "Not only did I throw up, I woke up on somebody's couch the next morning with $200 in my sock and a note that says, 'Come back anytime.'"
Oh man, that's amazing. Yeah, that man can drink, and is known for it. Once after hours, after the Improv, um, we ended up at a bar in Hollywood, and he walks up to the bar, and the bartender just reaches for a bottle of Grey Goose and hands it directly to Craig,
Jeez.
along with his glass. It's like, rather than get bothered to constantly refill his glass, I've never in my entire life seen a bartender just hand someone a bottle other than like in an old Western movie.
Now this glass, was it like a personalized glass? Someone was like, "Oh, here's Craig. Craig, we got your glass."
Here's your special glass. No, it's just a pint beer glass.
Of Grey Goose. Jeez.
Yeah, the man can handle his booze
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah, but really most of my headlining stuff were stuff I back to the point about, talking about myself, which is my most interesting subject. Most of it was just like closing out shows I produced at the Comedy Underground. Like I didn't have a steady monthly, but pretty much every month I would have one of those Wednesday night shows. I'd just do 15 to 20 at the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who else would be on the show? What kind of
Oh,
lineup was it?
let's see. Name drop alert. Derek Sheen, Emmett Montgomery, Danielle Radford, Solomon Giorgio, Riley Newton. Basically,
Hell yeah.
if you were a comic and you were my buddy, you'd be on it. So, Andy Haynes,
There you go.
all these
Nice.
people. So,
Fantabulous. All right, next question.
okay. I. So. I'm stretching. Psychology. You still stuck.
we'll edit out the stretches later.
Oh, I hope so. But, no, so you moved to LA. When was it? 2011. Well, why don't we go to our beginnings? Let's go.
All right.
I remember meeting you at the first. Was it the first Bridgetown Comedy Festival? Had to be.
Yeah, because I don't remember when. Did you go regularly, or was that? Because I don't remember. I have a terrible memory for that kind of shit.
No, the first ever Bridgetown Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
I think I met you when it was more name drops alert. You, me, Ron Lynch, and James Adomian, and one other person. We all got in your car to drive from one venue to the other, and you asked a question, and Ron Lynch said something, and then I was like, "Holy crap!" In my right ear was Mr. Lynch from Home Movies.
Yes, nice.
So, but I think the first time we ever hung out was after Bridgetown. You were up in Seattle for something, and you were hanging out with a female comic, and I wanted to book you for a show. So I met up with you at this one bar downtown, and I think the female comic was trying to hook up with you, and she was mad because as soon as we met, we were just joking around and really making the worst puns that imaginable.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember who this female comic was, but I guarantee she wasn't trying to hook up with me. She was just mad at the puns, I'm sure.
Yeah,
As people often are.
Yeah.
Who was this? Do you remember who it was?
I do, but I want to predict the identity because if I say she was trying to hook up with you, I don't want to.
Okay, good point. You've already done the damage.
Yeah,
So
but me and her are on good terms, and I'm not gonna say anything bad about her. She is a wonderful person.
Okay, fantastic.
So.
Yeah, so we met there and started punning, and then
just went on from there.
There you go. Yeah, once we had each other's cell phone numbers, the text puns would just randomly show up out of the ether.
Yep.
And it was well before Twitter, so we were tweeting at each other.
Actually, it was.
Or before Twitter was really not. Yeah, it was before I think Twitter was the place where we were gonna put these things.
Yeah.
Or they were just weren't part of the Twitter vocabulary yet.
Do you remember any highlights from our early texts?
Fuck. No, I have a bad memory for that kind of shit.
The one that sticks out for me was we had this whole exchange of what if Tom Petty was a cheesemaker? Like, don't want to live like a refugee on Brie falling. That sort of stuff. All stuff your grandma could read, all fun stuff. And I stole that.
Yeah, we'd have little assignments that would keep going.
Yep. And I stole that line from Dwight Slade. All stuff your grandma could watch. That's from his Right and Raunch sales pitch at the end of his, which you were the MC for.
That's right. My story about that is actually pretty fun. So it was his special, and he, like David Crow, who produced it for him, he just was footing the bill and recording a high def 16:9 real good 4-camera shoot with quality, broadcast quality cameras at a nice venue in Portland. And so I thought, and he asked me if I wanted to do the warm up for it. He's like, just 5 minutes, quick warm up, in and out. And so I'm like, fuck yeah. He's like, can I get the recording from it? He's like, yeah, of course. So I thought, boom, I'll have this amazing 5-minute, super high quality set that I can shop around or whatever. Showcase HD set. So we're half hour before showtime, and they're like, we don't have enough memory to even record your set. We're going to set the cameras and stuff during your set, practice shots, but we can't record the first show. And it was because it was 2 shows, 8 and 10. It's like, God damn it. Fuck. So it's like, all right, well, I'll get them on the second show. That'll be the more fun show anyway. So I go out and do my set and absolutely kill on that first show and had a great set. I'm like, I wish I'd have got that on tape. Anyway, I'm sure the second show will be fine. Well, as you can imagine, the second show started way, way late. The crowd was half the size, and they were tired. It was like a Friday night, so, they were already tired, kind of drunk or whatever. The security and the staff had been there since noon, so they weren't any help. And what happened was, so I go up, I'm about 30 seconds in, and I'm already flop sweating because I've prepped immediate jokes. I need to get a laugh within the first 5 seconds. All my immediate solid opening lines are just eating shit. And from the side stage, there's a stack of speakers. And behind that, there's a door, and there's a security guy standing at the door. He's been there all day. This security guy lets out a yawn. Have you ever been at the zoo and you hear the lion roar from half a mile away? You're like, ooh, the lion's roaring. This yawn was the lion's roar. I'm going to hold the phone away while I go. He goes, and I don't know that the audience could hear it. I have to imagine they could. But I heard it like it was centered and aimed directly at me. And it sliced through me like Obi-Wan's blade through Darth Maul. It absolutely cut me in half. I just stumbled through the rest of my set. I didn't want to address it. I got the cameras. I'm absolutely torn. And I just eat shit the whole set and walk away. And Dwight comes on and just has to do his thing. And I'm inconsolable. And then poor Dwight, to his credit, he was editing the whole thing himself. He learned how to edit in, I don't know, Pro Tools or something, or Avid. And he's like, I'm gonna. He sends me like the one salvageable minute of that set. He's like, look, this looks real good, and I think you'll be happy with it. And so I ended up with. It was actually less than a minute of usable material in a 4-camera HD shoot. And there's at least one like camera-based audience shot that has, you can see Susan Rice in the corner of it laughing. I'm like, all right, well, I got that. But it was absolutely the biggest live kick in the face I've ever experienced in my life. Like, just Mufasa's roar of boredom tearing through my soul, not even knowing if anybody else could hear it. Actually, at first I thought it was Dwight fucking with me because I was eating it so hard. I thought I was getting live roasted from the side stage until I had a moment where within the bit I could organically at least turn my head enough to look and see what was going on, and then I figured out it was a security guy being oblivious. I'm like, well, all right, I'm just gonna kill myself after this.
Yeah, you know, you've were the MC or warm up for pretty much half of Portland's comedy albums at one point. I mean, how many? I'm sure all of Augie's.
Oh, well, Augie never recorded his shit in Portland. He always went to the Midwest to record that stuff.
Yeah.
Or Portland was never that kind to him, audience-wise, you know? He's a star in the Midwest, Bob and Tom, all that stuff.
Yep.
But, like, Portland didn't really give two shits about him, so it was kind of a bummer. I mean, he'd get an okay regular crowd at Harvey's, but you're not going to record an album at I mean, I recorded my first album at Harvey's, but only just like I had a mini disc recorder in my pocket and was wearing a lapel mic, you know, for 12 shows in a row, and I would edit together the good bits. But that's not the way he...
Yeah.
Well, no, you know what? I take that back. He did record his actual video special, which wasn't recorded for an outlet, but like something just to sell after shows. I forgot. He did record that at Portland.
Yeah.
At Harvey's, because his uncle in Washington owned a production company that made direct-to-DVD stuff.
Oh, nice.
So he used that. But yeah, I definitely opened on that show. So good point. I think I did.
And, yeah, who else? Let's go down the list. So Augie, Dwight, who else have you been the audience warm-up for someone's album?
Probably Floyd J. Phillips' album. Can you imagine? I think I maybe did Art Krug's.
Virginia?
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't there when Virginia recorded hers. But yeah, no, recordings are always they're stressful, you know.
Yeah.
So you get the curse of when you're recording, which made it extra weird for when I recorded my last album, which I did in exactly one shot in one show, but I made the choice to do it in a recording studio that you could squeeze 40 audience members into, and there would be nothing getting in the way, no comedy club waitresses or bartenders or random people or food. I just took an intermission halfway through.
Oh, where'd you go? Drop your phone?
Yes, I think I've silenced it now.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny thing, the last set that I taped, I paid this guy $50 just tape me at Huntington Beach, the rec room. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do a nice sample of what I could do. And so I get the tape, and I realize the MC swears in my intro, and I'm like, okay, this unusable. I was so
We
disappointed.
could we could dub over the MC's voice, add a new voice.
Yeah, well, I
Paging Mr. Herman, Mr. P.W. Herman.
yeah. But
We could do it. Yeah, but was the rest of the tape any good? Would you have liked to used it?
not really. I did too much crowd work.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
You know,
Well, that's something we should be doing on Who's the Ross more, is recording showcase sets for us as a value to us. So we're gonna make that a priority when Civilization is rebuilt.
well, the set I did, I've been bothering Aaron for like 3 months to get it because I think that's a really solid showcase for me. But yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
we should do that once a run. Just you have a showcase set, and then the next run I have a showcase set. Just
There you go. Absolutely.
oh,
We'll make it work.
yeah, let's milk this pig for all we can.
Exactly. It's been a real pleasure working with you on it, and I'm so glad that you came out to support initially, and that Aaron was into your writing style. And
Yeah.
you bring a real left field originality to things that nobody else is going to think of. So
Yeah, and you really bring like something.
I generally bring a granola bar or two.
No, you bring a ton of quantity. Just we bring up an idea. You got 30 ideas right there, and I might have six, but 4 of them are good. But the difference is out of your 30, maybe 8 of them are good. So you're getting double me, but still,
Yeah, you have a higher percentage.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
The difference is, and here's the thing, and it's not, there's no pro or con list here, but of my 30 ideas, like 99% of them will at least be applicable.
yeah,
Of your ideas, a full 30% of your ideas are like for a different show that's in German.
exactly.
Because of all whatever's happening in your brain.
Yeah, so Mr. T is golfing, right? That sort of stuff.
It's like you're working on 2 different shows at once, and some of the shit from the other show leaks into our writing groups, and we're just like blinking. What?
Yeah.
You stopped us from talking to interject with that? But then we still got to write it down in case that guy calls and wants his shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Mr. T ever calls, I got 3 good jokes for him.
He's ready for his comedy revolution for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I pity the foo who don't book Mr. T.
That's right. If Mike Tyson can come back, he can come back because he never even got Me Too'd by actually going to jail for rape. So let's do it, Mr. T.
I mean, Mr. T was actually a very good role model.
For sure.
That
out there telling kids to take their vitamins and stay in school.
Exactly.
Don't fly. Don't get on an airplane, kids.
Exactly.
All right, next question.
Next question. What are you up to these days? Past couple days, big scare. What you been up to?
Well, hunkering down a little bit, but I'm a guy who absolutely loves to have time to just attack my projects, but I'm very disorganized with my projects because, just like you said, I have 30 ideas.
Yep.
And figuring out which ones are good ones and which ones are worth spending the precious time I have when I'm not trying to make rent, actually working on. So this is good. I've already been working on some stuff. I'm organizing myself. I'm writing goals, which it turns out I took this goal setting course and I actually paid money for it, which is good because it made me invested in it. I always recommend that. And it turns out I can't write goals for shit.
Nope.
And the reason is I dug deep. I dug deep psychologically, man. I went all the way. And I realized the reason is Because growing up under the threat of nuclear war with Mother Russia, I was absolutely bought in hook, line, and sinker to the idea that I was never going to make it into real adulthood. That 30 was a dream that was never going to happen. And there was no point in planning any more than like 6 months in advance. I never even consciously thought about 6 months, but when I look back, I've never planned beyond 6 months in my life. And it seems impossible. So having to write out like 20-year, 5-year, 1-year goals to move towards, like, it feels ludicrous, but it's also kind of emotionally destroying to realize I can't do it because I grew up, it's built into the infrastructure of my personality that there isn't going to be a future. I remember getting a car loan and 72 months, okay, just signing it with a wink, whatever, dude, that's a thing, we're all going to die. And so now I'm having to figure out how to think farther than 6 months in advance. So that I can actually chart a course of direction in my life and maybe, meditate on bringing in resources and bringing in money and being successful and being able to talk like this with crystals and candles.
Oh, nice. So really, Dax Chopra. Does he do that? I don't know.
Quantum. I hardly know him.
I think a cult would be perfect for you. Just
to start one or join one?
Well, you should join one just to check out the layout and then go off and start your own. You've seen enough Star Trek to, mix and match. You could...
Dude, right?
I mean, you can...
I could absolutely start a cult.
Yeah, there's the half... What are the race called? The half black, half white people on Star Trek?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember. I was literally just looking at it in my Star Trek encyclopedia, too, when I was writing the Kirk roast.
Star Trek...
I forgot.
And I was going to say Star Trek encyclopedia, that's nerdy, but I got my Star Wars reference guides, so,
Yeah, there's literally a thing called Wikipedia.
Yep, when you point the finger, you got 3 fingers and a thumb pointing back at you, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. But you still got the other one in a butthole, right?
Oh, absolutely. And after the...
Is that gay?
No, it's... with the thing in the butthole, as soon as you're done, immediately when you make the accusation, as soon as you pull it out, you just let loose. It's so good.
Okay.
Oh,
that's what's important.
Drop your phone again?
I had to check a thing on my phone. I'm good, though.
Gotcha. All right, I think we're good as well. It's been 49 minutes. Anything you want to promote? Anything that can make you money on iTunes since we're all hunkered down?
Yeah, I have my album, Number One Grandson, is on iTunes. Check it out. And you can watch my clips on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, @Dax Jordan. And I'll be coming to your town when I can afford to tour again.
Yeah, plus you'll come when this whole scare's over, so yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't forget, call your local comedy club when they reopen, request Dax Jordan, and make sure that he gets paid, as well as my previous guests, Molly Sockham, and Becca Berry. So, that being...
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a great tour. I mean...
I'd love to tour with Becca Berry, absolutely.
Oh, she's quite a character, a lot of fun. And she's got nothing to do, so if you want to reach out to her, definitely do it.
Haha, all right.
Cool, man. So, good night, guys.
Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Always a pleasure, and let's get through this together.